Thank you for tuning in to Kicker News. I'm Ella Burke.
And I'm Patrick Newhook.
Coming up, we have Mark Quilty checking in on some of our local seniors to see how they bared the storm of our generation. And if you've ever thought of online dating, you'll want to hear what Tandy O'Grady had to say about the dangers of swiping right. And later, Tad Feehan has a story that all horror, drag, and live entertainment fans will enjoy.
You're watching and listening to Kicker Radio on YouTube. Radio produced by the journalism students at College of the North Atlantic. For more great journalism, log on to kickercna.ca. Follow us on Twitter at CNA Journalism. Look at our Facebook and check us out on Instagram at KickerNL. St. John's saw record snowfall last week in the worst storm of the winter. Mark Quilty checks in with some seniors in the city to see how they're weathering the storm.
At the St. John's Retired Citizens Association, things are back to normal after a historic snowfall in the city. The club's guitar lessons have restarted after the delay. Last week's storm buried the city under 75-plus centimeters of snow, and one of the concerns many have is how St. John's more vulnerable groups, like seniors, have dealt with the snow and the state of emergency. Some seniors, however, are pushing back. They're a big part of helping the community cope as well. Dennis Mandeville, a member of the Retired Citizens Association, says that a lot of help during the storm came from senior citizens.
I had to pick a woman up and bring her to the hospital because her husband was in the hospital and he fell the day before. I was out, so the policeman stopped me and I told him I was going to the hospital. And my neighbor is a young lady. She lives in her house. We share the same driveway. So we helped each other do the driveways. So I was amazed at that, and I just couldn't get over how, good the neighbors and stuff are, right, to help each other.
The help, of course, wasn't limited to friends and neighbors. Many seniors, part of the sandwich generation, also had to help their own elderly parents.
Well, the first thing I did, I had to look after Mother. She's elderly. I know the snow was coming, and I knew it was going to be rough, so I picked her up. So I felt I was pretty well prepared. But then when the snow started, it came.
Darrell White, a St. John's resident and emergency planning professional, emphasizes how seniors can help.
The seniors, yes, we can play a part, and there's lots of things we can do and help out where we can. If necessary, open up your house to somebody.
However, his takeaway from the whole ordeal is a little different.
The trick to all of this, as far as I'm concerned, is being prepared. Lots of gas, generator, lots of propane, lots of food, and lots of rum. That's it.
For Kicker News, I'm Mark Quilty.
Traveling is difficult during the winter, more so for those with physical disabilities. But one St. John's resident doesn't let her disability stop her from getting out during the winter. Adam McDonald reports.
For people with disabilities, getting around town can be difficult, especially during the winter. Some may stay cooped up, only leaving their home for the essentials. But Nikki Kennedy, a resident on the west end of St. John's, doesn't let her disability keep her down. How often do you get out during the winter?
Like 5 days a week.
Nikki's main method of transportation is the GO Bus. One of the places Nikki likes to visit is the Hub, a service center for those with physical disabilities. Do you go to the Hub often?
It's usually every week when I play darts. And sometimes I'll go, every once a month, there's a dance usually.
Nikki lives atop a hill with a gravel driveway leading to her home. Because of this, the bus isn't always reliable.
Oh, there's times that I had GO Bus and they can't get down my driveway because my driveway isn't plowed, or it's icy and they won't come down.
What do you think can be done to help people with physical disabilities get around during the winter?
Sidewalks need to be cleared because if not, you're in the middle of the road. Whether you're in a manual chair or power chair or whatever, you're still in the middle of the road.
Though Nikki is able to get out a lot, she believes there's a lot more that can be done to help those with disabilities enjoy the winter. Whether it's better transportation system or simply better sidewalk clearing. For Kicker News, I'm Adam McDonald.
Despite being thousands of miles away from conflict, the effects of international tension are still being felt in Newfoundland and Labrador. Kicker's Nick Conway has the story.
Zade is an international student at MUN who offers a different side of the story than that of Canadian and American media.
Firstly, the media itself in my country is not like the media in America or Canada, and they say that it was such an assassination by Americans, but people on the other side, they say that no, it wasn't an assassination. It was like that was a good thing to happen. That's a shame.
Another story coming out of Iran was the plane crash which killed 176 passengers. The crash also had an effect on Moran as well.
They were just innocent people, and most of them were coming to Canada, and I knew one of them who just gained her visa and just wanted to start her studying here. She was a master's student. That depressing accident happened, and we're all really sorry about that.
Despite Moran coming to a foreign country alone, Moran has not been by himself. His lab partner Sarah and her friends have welcomed him with open arms and tried to make him feel at home.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have a group made now that we hang out with, and he's a part of it.
I really find it friendly here. I don't feel that I'm in a foreign country living in with strange people.
For Kicker News, I'm Nick Conn.
Are you looking to meet someone new? Online dating just might be what you've been searching for. But is it really helping you find love? Or is it putting you in danger? Kicker's Tandy O'Grady has more on that.
Nowadays, technology has made it easy for you to meet that someone special. However, it has also made it easy for dangerous individuals to find you. Jessica Richards, the representative of the Women's Committee at Memorial University, had this to say about online dating.
I've had a lot of girls come to me and share their experiences about online dating horrors of one in particular. It was at a girl's house, and she invited the guy over, and he started to get a bit violent, and then he wouldn't leave, so she had to lock herself in a room until someone came to get her.
To help decrease these types of incidents, here are the tips Jessica says you should follow to practice safe online dating.
My best advice would probably be to get to know the person a lot first and kind of do some research on them. I know it may seem like a bit extremist, but it's never too bad to be too safe.
I also spoke to Brianna Parsons, who is a victim of an abusive relationship. Her former partner has been known to be a frequent user of online dating sites. This is her advice to anyone who's missed out on the warning signs and is now feeling stuck in an abusive relationship.
The relationship won't get better. People don't just change, especially if you stay with them. I'm the type of person who thinks I could fix everyone that I meet, but you can't fix someone who doesn't want to admit to themselves that they have problems and that they need help.
So the next time you're about to swipe right, remember the tips and practice safe online dating. For Kicker News, I'm Tandy O'Grady.
I'm Ella Burke. You're watching and listening to Kicker Radio here on YouTube. Radio produced by the journalism students at the College of the North Atlantic. For more great journalism, be sure to log on to kickercna.ca and follow us on Twitter at CNA Journalism, on Instagram at KickerNL, and also on Facebook.
Painting rainbow crosswalks around the city didn't put an end to homophobia and transphobia. Kimberly Goldsworthy has the story.
Painting rainbow crosswalks around the city didn't put an end to homophobia and transphobia. Josh Smart was out for a walk in December when he was suddenly verbally attacked.
So me and this friend were going down, walking up Monday Pond Road, going towards Columbus Drive. We were in our own zone, laughing, carrying on, and the guys on the other side of the street were yelling out an offensive word for gay. They were yelling it constantly and kept saying it as we were still minding our own business. And I think they said it for the fifth time and really yelling it out. One of the guys started walking towards me and my friend. I could hear the anger in their voices and it was pretty scary.
Josh broke down when he got home that day. He couldn't understand how people could still be so cruel. Another resident, Danielle Spurl, was recently harassed at a local retail store.
My friend and I were born biologically female, but we identify as non-binary. We were clothes shopping at one of the local retail chains, and we had decided to quickly pop into one of the male change rooms. We noticed store security had been following us as we shopped in the men's section, and he proceeded to harass us and tell us that we were not allowed to be using the male change rooms because our perceived gender did not match the stick figure on the door. He kicked us out of the store and even went as far as to threaten to apprehend us and bring us to the station simply because we did not agree to his transphobic logic. We just wanted to try on a shirt.
Danielle hopes for a day when doing ordinary things like shopping is comfortable.
This is Kimberly Goldsworthy for Kicker Radio.
Tentacles, blood, and body horror are images that you would not normally expect. Tentacles, blood, and body horror are images that you would normally expect from a David Cronenberg or a John Carpenter film, not a drag queen runway. Yet, that is exactly what you will find at the Femme Fatales, a local collective that incorporates horror drag into their theatrical drag performances. Chad Fian has the story.
And freedom of expression has always been at the heart of drag. Horror drag allows for further experimentation and play within these drag norms themselves. Femme Fatale member /Garbagefile comments.
I think there's a fundamental aspect of drag is that there is something political and sort of confrontational about it. So even if you're working with cis performers and they're performing really traditional gender roles, there's still something politically very progressive about doing that in a world that's been so based on binary gender roles for so long. And when you add a horror element to that, there's all sorts of new, almost like toes you can step on. And I think when we invite horror, it creates a joke in a way between you and the audience. By and large, we're not talking about horror like the Saw movies. We're talking about B-movie, Evil Dead style horror where you know that the gore is made of oatmeal.
Horror drag reality show Dragula was an inspiration to fellow Femme, Witch Hazel, who identifies more with the weird and macabre than the glitz and glam.
I think people like me and / and pretty much everybody in the Flemmes would definitely, I think we all definitely relate to that a lot more than conventional drag. The group of us like working together because we like being weird, and that's the thing that we really like.
If this ghoulish brand of drag is something you've been looking for, you can check out the Femme Fatales this Friday at Treble Lounge. For Kicker News, I'm Chad Fian.
Are you a fan of craft beer? Well, if you are, the Dildo Brewing Company and the Spindrift Brewing Company have recently collaborated to create a new beer that will be sold in liquor stores throughout Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and Labrador. Patrick Newhook has the story.
The Dildo Brewing Company has definitely made a name for itself in recent history. Now, the brewery takes on its newest adventure, a collaboration with Nova Scotia brewery Spindrift. Head brewer of the Dildo Brewing Company, Leonel Rodriguez, is happy about the collaboration.
Spindrift can benefit from tying into one of the most exciting breweries that have popped up in Newfoundland, Dildo Brewing Company. And we tie into Spindrift by having our first exposure to sales in liquor stores in Nova Scotia and Newfoundland.
The new beer they have created is an alt beer, a traditional German style of beer. An alt beer is treated as a lager, but uses German ale yeast to enhance it.
But what it is it's an alt beer, and what that means is it's a lagered red ale. So we made a red ale, but it was a slightly different process where we lagered a red ale. Because it was something that neither of us had done before, so we wanted to do something a little bit different for this
Lionel also believes that the microbrewery scene has been beneficial to rural NL.
My opinion of it is it's proving to be one of the best drivers of rural tourism in recent years.
Even though this wasn't Spindrift's first time collaborating with another brewery, it was their first time working with Dildo. Jordan White, the marketing and communication manager for Spindrift, is happy about how the collaboration turned out.
The guys, the Dildo guys really hit it off with our Spindrift team for sure, and definitely one of our bigger ones in the amount of attention it's getting. Already we're kind of seeing a lot of interest for it.
The Dildo Spindrift Alt Beer will be released sometime soon in Newfoundland, and will be released a bit later in Nova Scotia. Patrick Newhook, Kicker News. Christine Rowe recently lost her house in a fire. Rowe thought that she had lost her two beloved pet rabbits. 3 days later, they were found alive. If you're just listening, you may want to start watching. With the story of Oreo and Smokey, here is Ken Meeker.
Smokey, two tiny rabbits with a big story. On January 18th, the day after the monster storm that rocked the Avalon Peninsula, Christine Rowe's house caught fire. A firefighter said to quickly grab what they could. The rabbits were high on that list, but in the chaos, they took the wrong carrier.
So I said, are you telling me that either someone has them or they're still in the house? So we asked a couple of the firefighters. We think the bunnies might be in the house, and they said, well, we're not going in the house anymore. And we figured with all the smoke and that was it. We had lost them.
However, 3 days later, amidst the gyprock and ruin, a miracle. The rabbits were found alive in their carrier, covered in urine and hungry, but in surprisingly good shape.
Racing down to the house, I was like, pinch me. Is this real? Is this, is this really happening? And when I got there and I saw them, when I put them in my coat, I took off and I kept thinking, please just, don't die on the way. You've lasted this long, 3 days in this cold. Please, God, let them be okay. When I walked into the vet that morning and I said, our house burned down. My bunnies were in the house for 3 days and they're alive. I need you to check them right away. They asked, which one's the one that was sticking out of the coat? I said, Oreo. And I unzipped my coat and I said, and this one's Honey. And they all went, oh, Honey! Honey's alive!
Before the fire, Smokey was named Honey. The vets found her to be a male. After the ordeal, he was fittingly renamed Smokey. Deanna and Marcianne are Christine's daughters. For such small rabbits, they think the rabbits have pretty large personalities.
Oreo is definitely a lot more shy. He likes to hide behind his brother, but they do stick together a lot.
Yeah. Smokey, he likes having a nice cuddle, and he likes being held in your arms, and he likes being on his back too.
During this ordeal, the community stepped up to help in a big way.
I'd say the next day we had bags and bags of clothes delivered. People had collected donations. Neighbors that I had never met on the street had gone around door to door collecting donations and clothes and brought them to us. My youngest daughter, her hockey team got together and collected enough because she needed all new hockey gear and she needed it for Saturday. So they got together and they collected money and paid for all new hockey gear.
Material things are replaceable. Oreo and Smokey, they're irreplaceable. For Kicker, this is Ken Meeker.
And that brings us to the end of our show today. Thanks for tuning in to Kicker Radio here on YouTube. And remember, for more great journalism, log on to kickercna.ca. You can follow us on Twitter at CNA Journalism, on Instagram at KickerNL, as well as on Facebook. Tune in next week for more great stories by our news team. For Kicker News, I'm Ella Burke.
And I'm Patrick Newhook.